Hi, everyone. I'm Danny Laker, and this is
Laurie Woodward,
welcome to our show, Love at First Page.
a podcast about the writer-producer relationship.
We're more than thrilled to have you here. Glad that you found us. Welcome back for those who join again. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button on our Instagram, on our social media channels, and also on our Spotify and YouTube. We are going to talk about the producer and writer relationship. What does it mean? It means building something together, crafting something together, and giving you an exclusive behind the scenes how our production Artenia is made. And not just that, but also how we as human beings collaborate with each other, having this wonderful sisterhood of trust, of faith in each other, empowering each other, bringing each other to the next level, each of us in their own way, in their own space, in their own pace, and also learning from each other. This is what it's about. And it's so beautiful to collaborate with such a beautiful soul like Laurie. I'm so glad, feeling so blessed.
Oh, thank you, Danny. That's one thing I really love about working with you. Ever since we first met, and you told me that you wanted to represent Artania and you believed in Artania, I felt this sisterhood. I felt something that I had never felt before. There was a way that you honored me and respected me that moved me to tears, which was quite beautiful. Yeah. Unfortunately, as a woman in this industry, I hadn't always felt that. It's not always easy being a woman in this industry.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, yes.
And by this industry, you mean like the as a writer or as an author or
Exactly. As both as a writer, as an author, and as someone that's trying to sell themselves. I one of the reasons we got into this topic is Danny and I were having a discussion. We were having a discussion a few weeks ago about what it's like to be a woman and how we've been treated. And I shared with Danny that when I wrote my novels, I was still married, and my ex-husband never read a single one of them. He said, "Oh, I'm just not into that." And every boyfriend I've had has never read any of my novels, nor my screenplays. And
wow.
I realize that that's probably has something to do with our topic today with what is it like to be a woman and a professional in, this film industry today. And this segues into our topic today, which is what is it like to be a woman in this industry in 2025?
Oh, I'm so glad you bring this up. See, guys, this is what it's about. It's partnership, it's companionship. When one overlooks something, then the other jumps in. But you know, one reason why I totally forgot about the topic is because it feels like we are overlooked in or we overlook this topic in so many ways. Yes, we do have female producers. And yes, I recently had the conversation that there are more women in the industry right now. But name one of the known producers, female producers from the top of your head, you guys. Come up with it. Think about it right now. Do you remember somebody? Then think of a male producer. And all of a sudden, all these big iconic producers come up and pop up. Like we have Steven Spielberg, we have James Cameron, just to name a handful. We have all these people that are out there that have their hit movies that really are legends.
Mhm.
But when it comes to women, we blank out really fast. I mean,
Because yes, it still is a male dominated industry. And actually, in getting ready for this podcast, I did a little bit of research,
oh, you
and
did.
it was sobering. In 2024, women comprised only 24% of producers working on the top 100 films.
Wow, say that again.
But actually, That's the best news. Of those, executive producers were only in 21% of those roles, editors 21%, writers like myself, only 16% of the writers of the top films of 24 were women. 16%.
Wow.
And directors, it's even worse. Only 11% of directors in 2024 were women from the top 100 films.
Wow.
So even though things have gotten better, if you look back to the 1950s, you see about a 0.5% of women were involved in those roles. And most of the roles that women filled back then were things like, oh, they might be doing some editing or they might be doing fashion design or, and then of course being in front of the camera doing acting. But having these behind the scenes roles has really been limited in, I guess, approximately 75 to 80% of all cases to men. And to me, that's very limiting in our perspective that we're given in film.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And these numbers say that again, 24% of the producers are female. This is this is not a quarter of the producers that we are looking at. It's really like it's this is out of 100, you have 24 producers that are female. And then yet again, we cannot come up with one big name producer that we would put into the same on the same level like the aforementioned. I think it's even worse. This number can't be right. I think this number is even lower than what we see. I mean, yes, there are producers, but this is the point. Being a producer is being a project manager, but being a successful producer, one that is mentioned among all those big names that write history in film, is a handful. And I think it's the same with writers. I believe when we would go out and ask people on the street and would do an interview, maybe we can do that and see how many of the women write and how many of the men write. I think it's the total opposite. But the fact that we have those low numbers shows that it's really something that is not fostered. It's
Mhm.
not nourished. It's not promoted, even though we try to push more projects and yeah, sponsor more female-led projects. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, what really comes out, it's not the case, right?
Except there, it seems to me like doors are still very much closed for women, which to me is very, very sad as a mother, as a retired teacher, and as a woman to think that all of these young women, middle-aged women, older women like myself, having a closed door instead of an open door when their ideas are, are just as valid as those of men seems to me is, we're not embracing the feminine.
First
Half
off,
of our population is feminine. Half of our population wants a different kind of story. For instance, I don't know about you, but oftentimes I'm, flipping through streaming services like Netflix or something like that, and I'm looking for films that I might want to watch.
mhm.
And it's like, oh no, I've seen that. No, I've seen that. No, I've seen that. Oh, another one of those, another one of those. And my guess is that this is because so many of these films are made by a very small, select group
Mhm.
of people, usually male, usually from a certain demographic,
Mhm.
and their perspective is going to be limited. Whereas if you have films made by women and people from all walks of life,
Mhm.
then you would have a much greater variety of films.
Wow. Yeah, it's hard to find a female director, guys. And I'm looking forward to direct my first feature film, and I feel so honored that I found a male producer who said, "Yes, I'm gonna do this because I see you and I believe in you." but this is rare. Often it's we are overlooked basically, but not overlooked in this gender perspective, but really like overlooked that this is still a topic.
Exactly, exactly. And as we were talking about earlier, when I go to look for a film to watch,
Hmm.
I often, find that many of them are the same sort of genre, the same story again. It's like, okay, oh, seen that idea. Oh, seen that. Oh, no, no, no. I've That's been done, that's been done, that's been done. So fresh perspectives, I don't find quite as much. Whereas if there were more openings for women to be creating these films, I don't think that we would have such a limited perspective in what was being created today.
But to play the devil's advocate here, why do you think more female decision makers, let's put it that way, be it producers, directors, people behind the camera, why should there be more female, more of us, more women included? What do you think?
Well, when I go to read a book or when I go to watch a film, I want to be able to relate to those characters.
Hmm.
I want those characters to be believable. I want them to be fully fleshed. I want them to have characteristics that I admire. For example, I was watching for a brief while about a week ago a show that featured, a woman who was probably in her 70s, and she was supposed to be a professor. And immediately, here's a woman that's a professor. She's in her 70s. She's supposed to be a detective, and they have to have her drinking, doing shots. They have to have her making out with someone in the corner. They have to have her cussing up a storm. And to me, why do you have to be cursing and having sex to be relevant as a woman?
Mhm.
And this actress, who's I won't really mention her name, I'd often admired for her grace and the way that she'd always carried herself.
Yeah.
Yet and to me, they were putting words in her mouth that a woman in her position would not use. They
Hmm.
were making her to be this smoking, cussing, drinking, professor. It just didn't make sense to me. And I couldn't help but think that this screenplay must have been written by a young male who didn't see women uh, in ways that they really are. That
And I think this is one of these aspects why it makes sense to have a blend, a mix in a team of male and female perspectives that come to the table and that have a look at
Mhm.
the art. And
And also, as a woman, I want to watch a film like that.
mhm.
And I think men do too. I don't think I'm the only one. I think that we're all drawn to a variety of stories, that we're all drawn to things from multiple perspectives instead of limited perspectives.
100%. And this 360 view on our world is how we should approach every topic and each topic. But you know what strikes me? When you think about how we women are built, like from our DNA, from our heritage, when you look at, and I love this story, when you think about the Stone Ages, women, they had so many jobs at the same time. They were hustlers, right?
Exactly.
The boys were just out hunting, having fun, shooting and not shooting, but hunting mammoth, and then the women they were like really in this struggle of taking care of the family while the men were away. So they had to raise the kids, they had to clean the cave, they had to as well survive, and they had to find the berries, the nuts, the grains, whatever that was out there. Um, and then they had again to take care of multiple projects at the same time because they couldn't do it all by themselves. So they had to step in negotiating with other women whose husbands were gone as well, or whose men were gone as well. And so there was a constant like organizing, negotiating, putting all the puzzle pieces together, and then being ready for the big event when the man returned. So, in other words, when I compare this to my role as a producer, my role as a producer is the same, getting shit done, no
Hmm.
matter how. It's really like having all these balls in the air and juggling it around and looking how you align all of these for the big opening. So,
Exactly.
right?
Yes. Yeah, well, I mean, we had millennium of hunter-gatherer societies, as you said, where, women were the gatherers and caring for children. And we had to think divergently. We had to be multitaskers
Yeah,
in order to keep the children safe, to keep the village safe,
yeah.
in order to create the tools that needed to be created for, clothing, for, baskets, for all of those things. Whereas the men, they were single-minded. They had a task that we're going to chase the woolly mammoth or the or whatever it was. And they would work in a linear fashion. And I would say that oftentimes today, we still see women being very divergent thinkers
Yes.
and being multitaskers, which is why, like for me, I was a school teacher. I come from being a school teacher. I had to be a multitasker. Like if I'm teaching fractions at the same time, I've got to watch Johnny and Susie and everybody else and make sure they're behaving and not bopping each other on the head, So it's like
I
you
feel
have to
like
you have
it's
to
the
think of a
same
lot of things
thing.
at the same time. And as a producer, you have to do that. You have to be putting on multiple hats
Uh-huh.
simultaneously in order to get a film made.
Exactly. I feel the same way. Like it's so funny. So you are a great producer apparently as a teacher, coming from this background. No,
Mhm.
honestly, it's really like you have to put on these multiple hats. And you know why I think a lot of women are not seen in their role as a producer, or not that honored, or make it to the top, or really having the success and getting the investors' attention, because this is still a male structured industry. It was built from a male perspective because it was part of our society back then. So I don't blame it that it's that way.
Mhm.
That's why I don't want to have this as a political discourse or a talk here about like we have to have like this ratio of 50-50 all the time. No, where it makes sense, right? There, we have to infuse more potential for a female perspective. This is what I would like to put here in focus. And this means we have to revisit the entire system and the entire the infrastructure, how this industry has been built in the
Mhm.
past, or was built in the past, and how it has transformed until today. Because one of the things, and I'm interested in your opinion, if this is in the educational space similar, or from your research, what you found out there, um, one of the things that was criticized in the recent past by one very senior producer slash investor, that female producers are often unpredictable. I said to this person,
Sorry. Um,
I
yeah.
I said
Oh gosh. Yeah.
it's yes, maybe unpredictable because we look for new and unorthodox ways, because at the end of the day, nobody cares at the end of the premiere how we made it, but that we made it.
Mhm. Yes, yes. Well, I mean, if you think about it, film was invented before women even had the right to vote.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's what we got the right to vote was it 1920. So we've had the right to vote for a little over 100 years. And men have been in power. And I would say there are multiple things going to the vote, but I would say that it's nature once you have power to want to hold on to it.
Right.
It's not a judgment. These
No.
are just looking at the history of what has occurred and then maybe coming up with, some ideas for making it a little better. Um, Women were actually very involved early on. And from what I read in my research, is that once the studios got larger,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the power tended to be centralized in a few men,
Mm-hmm.
the Metro Golden Mayor, and et cetera. Um, and it is better today. I mean, it is a research that I found that only 0.5% of women were involved in production and direction and so on from the 1950s. So we are making progress. So is good news.
Yes.
Um, but what I would love to see is I would love to see us embrace more of the feminine. I would love us to be more like sisters and keep opening doors
Yeah.
for each other. That's the thing that I very much admire about Reese Witherspoon and her company, uh, Hello Sunshine, is that they're trying to open doors for women. Their mission statement is to change the storytellers, to broaden the perspectives of what we have out there so that it more accurately represents all of us.
Yeah, what's going on really in our lives? I mean, the society is changing. We have a lot more stories and perspectives to share and to tell. And what you mentioned is this empowering through opening doors, because oftentimes there are these storytellers that we admire, like you mentioned, Reese Witherspoon, all these women that make it to the top, or Greta Garvik, or Sofia Coppola. So we have those names, but then there is like this almost like magic around those few, that we tend to forget who we are inside of ourselves. And this is so beautiful because this ties in with our baby Artenia.
Tina, that's what I believe. I believe
Yes.
we all have that beautiful part inside of us, our creativity.
Yep.
And when we allow ourselves to express ourselves, magical things happen.
Ex exactly. Because we are, as women, we are, we have a womb which creates life, right? So we are really like the alchemists that can flow in structures, in given
Mhm.
structures, and create and transmute and transform something totally different from what was the old. And so I truly believe that if we allow ourselves really to be who we are at our core, and this is what Artenia is about, and this is why I fell for it. This is the 100% response to why I optioned it in the first place, because I felt this message from the first pages,
Oh,
and
thank you.
Laurie managed to really put it there. So, yeah, in focus of the entire story. So it's centered around this core theme that is so crucial for us, especially in this time and age where technology dominates.
Mhm.
I think this is what we as women should focus more on, who we are, and not comparing ourselves so much.
Yes, and honoring our differences
Yeah,
and honoring who we are. And each of us have a unique voice.
yeah, yeah. Because we had this, and guys, we can share this. This was really an episode that we planned to do right from the start, but we had to our own journey on making this
Mhm.
episode, because there's still so much out there that is ingrained in us, that prevents us from really, like what you just said, allowing our voice, our own voice,
Hmm.
accepting it first for ourselves, listening to it, then accepting it, and then allowing it for the world to see.
Hmm. Yeah, to own your own power.
Hmm.
It's not always easy as a woman to do so because we're taught, at least in my generation, I'm older than you, you know, good little girls sit and are quiet and are humble and they let the boys talk first and good little girls do this and having those sorts of messages your entire life
Hmm.
make it even more challenging when you become an adult to try to be your own best advocate. And
Hmm.
I know as a shy person, that's something that's always been challenging for me.
Hmm.
So I have, my own sexism, and those tapes that play in our minds that are not always healthy for us. And then I have, a compound that was shyness. So I would say that that's always been a huge challenge for me, in trying to sell my story and trying to tell people what really is inside my heart and how much I want to share Artania and its message that we're all beautiful creative beings that when we create ourselves are making magic for both ourselves and for the whole world. That's it's not always easy to say that, to speak it out loud, to those things that are inside of us. Mhm.
Yeah, but what you just said is the complexity of these different influences that come to you as a female writer, and how the producer then, I just imagine I would just look at it linear. I would just look at this laser focused, okay, we have to, no matter how, we have to get it made. I don't care. Like as well, recording this episode, we have to put the message out there. No matter what, it has to sell, it has to be something. No, it has to touch people's hearts and souls. And whether we are men or women, it doesn't matter. It's for all of us. We have our unique way of telling the story, of conveying this when we are at our core, when we understand who we are and allow it
Mhm.
and not shy away.
Exactly.
Don't be
Being
shy.
authentic. Exactly.
Yes.
Being authentic.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's true. I
And
agree.
our upbringing might be part of it,
Hmm.
but is it bad that you were raised that way, or does it give you a new perspective that you are now in the position because you are empowered
Hmm.
to a sisterhood that nourishes you to speak
Hmm.
up and tell this perspective and not say, oh, yeah, this is because I was raised that way and because of this and that. And I blame my parents or I blame the time in which I was raised. Or is it, no, because I was raised that way, I can step up for those women who don't see it just yet
Hmm.
and give them
Exactly.
a voice.
Uh-huh. Yes, yes, empathy is so important. And I would say that's one thing that we as women have as a gift. Want them to empathize. That's
Mhm.
something I try to do with my characters. I try to make them vulnerable. I try to give my characters um, a full-fledged backstory. I try to make them relatable.
Mhm.
Even and you think of the best superheroes, like even a superhero, because in Artania, art is a superpower.
Yeah.
But if you look at traditional superhero stories, some of the best have vulnerable
Mhm.
superheroes.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And this vulnerability is at the core of the writer's journey. It's really like more a journey than a it's yeah, a role that you fill in. We are on this journey together, and it's like we are travelers, like in Artania,
Yeah.
traveling this beautiful, magical road of making a movie. And this is what we want to talk about with you next week when we have our next episode about how these worlds are created and how
World building,
this
that's fun.
world creation is also part of your own journey.
Hmm.
Because, and I'm super excited to talk about that topic because I know Laurie built this world building is one of the topics where she really mastered her craft.
Thank you.
She wrote 7 books in a world that doesn't exist. So, and when you think about the complexity, how you create it, and we will also talk about the complexity, what it means for a producer to take such a story on, because it's not just done by, okay, we pick one book and get it done. No, I as a producer as well have to understand this process. I have to get and enter this world, and this is part of the journey. And we thank you so much that you've been with us, and
Yes. Thank you so much.
don't forget to
Subscribe on YouTube and Spotify if you like our podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in.